All right, let's dive into a story that spans about 3 decades of work. It kind of starts way back in high school in '97, passing digital notes instead of paper ones, and it blossoms into a career spent swapping out old paper-based systems for modern, web-based solutions. It's really a story about how technology changes, sure, but it's more about how we adapt and innovate when the pressure is really on.
Everything really kicked into high gear right around here, smack in the middle of the 2008 economic crisis. Unemployment was through the roof, huge companies were just vanishing, it felt like the professional world was basically falling apart. And this wasn't just some abstract business challenge. For a lot of us, it was deeply personal. You had a family to provide for, and that meant you had to think in a radically new way. The old, safe ways of working, they just weren't safe anymore.
So what were these old ways that suddenly felt so dangerous? Well, it all boils down to what I call the paper-based panic. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of why the old world office just couldn't keep up and how that sparked this whole journey.
Come on, we've all been here, right? Staring at a screen, clicking away, feeling like you're pedaling as fast as you can, but you're not actually going anywhere. This image just nails that feeling. It's the classic problem of a static, clunky workflow. You feel busy, but you're not making any real progress.
The fundamental problem was the paper itself, or the digital equivalent, like a PDF attachment. As soon as you print that document or hit send on that email, it's frozen. It's a snapshot in time. You can't fix a typo, you can't push an update, and in a crisis when things are changing by the minute, relying on information that's obsolete the second you create it, that's not just inefficient, it's a huge liability.
So, how in the world do you break out of that trap? The answer, and this is the cool part, wasn't some brand new flashy invention. No, it was about going back to a foundational idea that had been quietly building in the background for years, the very thing that makes the internet, well, the internet.
Let's rewind the clock to 1989. This is Tim Berners-Lee's original proposal for what would become the World Wide Web. And you gotta love his boss's feedback on it. Vague but exciting. Talk about an understatement, right? This was the little spark that lit the whole fire. And the idea at the heart of it all was honestly so simple, yet so profound. He called it a mesh. Instead of having a bunch of isolated documents, Berners-Lee imagined a web where everything was interconnected. That little hyperlink, the blue underlined text we take for granted, allowed anyone to connect one piece of information to another. It created this dynamic, living network of knowledge. And that little shift from physical paper to a digital link unlocked just insane levels of efficiency. Seriously, think about it. A single short web address, just a few characters long, can pull up an entire universe of live, up-to-the-minute information for anyone, anywhere in the world for, what, less than a penny's worth of electricity? Now that is what you call scalable.
Okay, so you've got this incredible power of the web. Now what? How do you actually use it to innovate over and over again? That's where something called the idea delivery lifecycle comes in. It's basically a framework, a structured process to take great ideas and actually make them happen, consistently.
It breaks down into 4 really clear phases. It's not just a checklist, it's a flow. You start with ideation, that's the spark, the what-if moment. Then you move to elaboration, where you give that idea some legs. You flesh it out, you add the details. Then comes the real engine room, iteration. This is where you refine and tweak and improve based on feedback. And finally, you get to presentation, where you share your polished idea with the world.
This is a great way to picture it. It's a system designed to grab those random ideas you scribble on a napkin and actually guide them through a process until they become something real, something shareable. And the most important part, it's not a one-way street. It's a loop. It's all about continuous improvement. And the engine that drives that whole loop, the real secret sauce, is this ridiculously simple mindset. You don't try to build the perfect thing right out of the gate. No way. You start by just making the first draft less bad. You fix the obvious problems. Then you make it better. And only then, after all that, do you aim for excellent. It's all about small, steady, continuous improvement.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. Because that whole web-native foundation we've been talking about, built on links and structured information, well, it turns out it was the perfect launchpad for the next massive leap forward, artificial intelligence. In fact, that whole life cycle we just talked about is what creates the perfect fuel for AI.
The difference between then and now is just, it's night and day, right? In 1997, we had Clippy. Remember Clippy? That little paper clip that was stuck on your one computer? Totally offline. Fast forward to today, and we've got cloud-based AI copilots that are always on, working for you in the background, and they keep going even if your laptop dies.
So what do we even mean by AI ready? Well, when we save our work in a structured, web-friendly way, with clear headings, lists, links, we're basically creating a map for an AI to read. It's not just a blob of text anymore. The AI can understand it, analyze it, and even build on it. Your ideas stop being these static files, and they start becoming assets that actually gain value over time.
And this is where the magic happens. This is the big payoff. Think about it. You could take a marketing plan you wrote 10 years ago, feed it to an AI, and say, hey, update this for today's social media landscape. This combination lets us dig up all our old work, all those good ideas, and bring them back to life instantly. We can rescue them from that digital graveyard on our hard drive.
Which brings us to the ultimate goal, the big picture philosophy this all leads to. Creating things that are designed from the ground up to get better and more valuable over time.
When you build on this foundation of structured data, your ideas aren't just files anymore. They become these living assets. They're reusable, so you can grab parts of them for new projects. They're portable, so you can move them between different apps and services. They are constantly improvable by you and by AI. And they're regeneratable, meaning you can transform them into a video script or a blog post or a slideshow whenever you need to.
So let's circle all the way back to that moment of panic, right? Your laptop battery is at 5%. Before, that was it. Game over. But today, with that last 5%, you can fire off a single prompt to a cloud AI that kicks off a whole complex process that will keep working long after your screen goes black. The urgency is still there, but you're not limited by your hardware anymore. You launch the rocket, and the cloud takes care of the rest.
So this leaves us with a really powerful final thought. All that work you've done, all those ideas sitting in old folders on your computer, they're not dead. They're not obsolete. They're just dormant. They're waiting for a modern upgrade. So the real question to ask yourself is, what sleeping potential do you have sitting around that you could wake up and start improving forever?